Yeah.
But for that person that is maybe tuning in going, all I know is being, whether it's drastically overweight or all I know is just being that in not the shape that I want to be in. Where should they start?
Well, like before you even answer that, like the answer to that question is to start somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So it's not like the other part of this is like paralysis by analysis. It's like, people listening maybe even to this episode now that are just always searching for what the answer is, but never actually giving it a nudge and having it crack. Like it's like waiting until they find out the perfect way to do it before they do it. And there is no perfect way to do it. But I always say this, like, your body is very similar to a business. Your body is very similar to a sports car. Like, you need to know your numbers. You need to be able to have measurable things within your body to see results. Like, there should be absolutely zero guesswork involved in getting in shape. Just like when you're running a business, if it's going super well, you should know why. You should know what parts of their business or the company are doing well, what parts aren't doing well, what numbers are in the red, maybe what numbers are in the black, like where things need to chop and change. And if you don't know those numbers, then you can't be upset or disappointed that your business is fucked, or that if it's doing well, you can't sit there and claim that like it's because of you. Like, because if you don't know why it's doing well, then like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you need to know your numbers. So I use the term become the CEO of your own body. So you want to become the CEO of your own body. So what I mean by that is knowing at least roughly how many calories you're eating per day. Now, for starters, that may be just whatever. Like, you may just start tracking the foods that you already eat, but start to know exactly what those numbers look like. So, using apps like MyFitnessPal and stuff like that, something super simple. But tracking your food intake so that it's the same every single day, or at least close. And I'm not saying to be perfect, because I have been doing this for years and I don't think I've ever finished on the exact perfect amount, like maybe a few times, but it's not my goal. Like, I tell people, particularly with nutrition, like close enough is good enough as long as it's consistent. So knowing your numbers, knowing your calorie intake. Protein minimum is a second one that everyone should know. So, I recommend 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight as a minimum. So if you're a 60 kilo individual, 120 grams is your minimum amount of protein. Anything over that's fine, but that should be your bare minimum.
And why is that? Sorry, mate. Is that to like just sustain the training load and keep you healthy?
Well, protein's like the most important macronutrient in terms of growth, repair. It's metabolic macronutrient. It's going to help you feel fuller for longer. Yeah, as you mentioned, like growth and as I said, recovery. So super important. So those two things are the most important numbers, right? So once you know those numbers, your carbs and fats ratio, like, when you get to a certain point, yes, it may be important, and physically you may respond better to one ratio compared to the other. But when we talk about body composition, it means almost fuck all. Are you allowed to swear on this on the show? If not, then you got some serious editing to do at the end of this,
mate. I should put like a highlights reel together of all my F-bombs on this show in the last 12 months. So you feel free to go nuts.
Good. So those two numbers are important, right? But now, when we figure out what the goal is, so if you want to gain weight, all you need to do is make sure that number that you're hitting every day is in a calorie surplus, meaning that you are above your maintenance intake. If you want to lose body fat, that number needs to be in a calorie deficit below your maintenance. So let's say you track now, Liam, for the next 7 days what you eat every day, and you don't try and do anything different. You just track your normal intake. And let's say on average, you've been eating 2,500 calories a day and your body weight stays the same for the week. 2,500 calories is most likely as close as possible to your maintenance calorie intake at the moment. So for you, it's very simple. It's like, all right, if I want to lose weight, I need to be just below 2,500. If I want to gain weight, I need to be just above. Now, it doesn't have to be drastic. It should be small amounts, because, and then the last thing with the nutrition side of things, before I touch on the next bit, is that think of your body like a sports car, like I mentioned before. If I've got a Ferrari and I'm putting in the cheapest unleaded fuel every time I go fill it up, there's going to come a point in time where it just starts to run like shit, and it doesn't run like it's supposed to, and you're probably going to have issues. Your body's the same. Like, in the end of the day, calories and proteins are most important, But if you're just getting all your calories from shit food, even though, you know, body composition wise, you still may see results, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to recover well. Your health is not going to be as good. So I like to stick to what I call the 80-20 rule. So 80% as a minimum of my calories come from nutrient dense whole foods, like your typical healthy food that you would typically hear about. The remaining 10 to 20% can be used for other things. It might be a glass of wine with dinner. It could be ice cream before bed, like whatever, a muffin with your coffee in the morning. It doesn't really matter. Your body doesn't know what you eat. It knows how much you're eating. So, you know, the whole notion of avoiding carbs, avoiding bread, fucking all the rest of it is just all bullshit. Unless you genuinely are, you know, celiac, unless you're genuinely intolerant to dairy, unless you just don't feel good on these things, there's no need to cut anything out when you're trying to lose weight, as long as you stick to your numbers. So that's the first part. Now, the second part is I tell everyone, particularly that are trying to lose body fat, to lose weight, that you want to start with as much fruit as possible and as little amount of exercise as possible. Now, before anyone starts to think to themselves, why the fuck am I listening to this guy? He's got no idea. Let me explain. What I mean by that is people typically do the opposite. So something, and I'm going to start. After the first few weeks, they're training every day, maybe even twice a day, doing heaps of cardio, eating next to nothing. And then, you know, all well and good, you see some good results, and then you hit a plateau. So my question then is, what are we going to do now? So you're either going to have to do more, which you're already at capacity pretty much, or you're going to have to eat less, which is going to be even more miserable. So when you're starting a fat loss phase, I start with my calories as high as possible. And when I say as high as possible, I only mean like just below maintenance. So I'm still in a calorie deficit, but I'm not dropping an absurd amount. So go back to your example. If your maintenance is 2,500, you might start at 2,400. So you're in a deficit, but not much. Training wise, same. Start as little as possible. So maybe you decide that you want to be lifting weights 4 days a week. Obviously, your situation's a bit different at the moment, but say, for example, for someone listening, they want to start with 4 sessions a week. Cool. 4 weight sessions a week, no cardio, all good. Once you reach a plateau, all of a sudden the process becomes fucking easy as shit. Like now, all I have to do is either drop fruit a little bit or increase my energy output a little bit, and I see results until we reach another plateau, and then it's rinse and repeat. So that could look like, you know, you might go from 2,400 to 2,300. So you've taken an extra 700 calories from your week. Like if you do that by over 7 days, you're going to continue to see results because you're in more of a deficit now. You may decide that I don't want to bring food any lower. I want to increase my energy output. But because you started with not too much, you've got heaps of room to move. So you might go, all right, I'm going to add on a 5th day of weights, or I might want to do a bit of cardio. So I'm just going to add in 1 cardio session a week for 30 minutes. That's it. Now, that'll most likely kickstart fat loss again for an extended period of time. And when you reach a plateau, like I said, rinse and repeat. It's either a slight reduction in food, slight increase in energy output. All of a sudden, the fat loss process becomes easy. It becomes enjoyable. You don't lose the muscle mass. Performance doesn't drop off. And most importantly, you're seeing consistent results that are long lasting and something that you can actually maintain, because there's no point doing a fat loss phase or a challenge or whatever if, like I said, you're counting down the days till it's over, or you look great for like 2 days and then you look like shit afterwards because, you know, you've had your 2 days where you look great, but you were that hungry or that sick of training that you just blow it out for the next few weeks, and all of a sudden all that hard work's gone. So look, for me, it's pretty much trying to stay away from extremes. Stay away from extremes, do the small things exceptionally well on a daily basis, and you'll see results. And typically it's simple. Like the way I've just broken it down right now. After this, I'm going to ask if I can take the audio and the video from that, so I can use that for basically anyone that ever asks this question again, because it's simple, man. It's like, it's not difficult stuff, but like I said, it's not always the answer that people want to hear, because